Starting off at number 10, we have the ever popular Hell's Gate Bridge in Oxford, Alabama. This is no London Bridge, despite the fact that it is falling down, but a more sinister bridge that harbors the characteristics of a living hell. Hell's Gate Bridge got its name because it's said that when you stop on the bridge and glance over your shoulder, the road begins to resemble a fiery gates of hell. And if you're not scared from a mere opinion, in 1950, a young couple's car drove directly off the bridge, killing both of them. And it said if you stop at the bridge with your lights off, a member of the couple enter the vehicle and leave a wet spot on your seats. The bridge has now been cemented off due to its poor condition and to stop those who are too curious for their own liking. At number 9, we have the Alaskan Triangle. Imagine the Bermuda Triangle, but cold and on land, and then we have the Alaska Triangle. This is a piece of untouched wilderness where mystery lingers and the unknown spreads. This triangle connects from Alaska's largest city of Anchorage to Juneau in the southeast and Barrow in the north. Over the past 50 years, over 20,000 people and several planes have gone missing in the area. The mystery of the disappearance is inconclusive, but many of the surrounding indigenous tribes, including the Tling tribe, claim that restless demons and trickster spirits lure people to an icy death. Specifically, there is a shape-shifting demon called the Kushtaka, described to approach those who are lost or weak. And once your trust grows with them, they will drag you deeper into the wilderness and tear you limb for limb, preventing your soul from reincarnating. In other words, this place is not the most ideal backpacking spot. You can't believe what we have at number 8. We have the ghost of Stowe Lake. Situated by the largest body of water that borders the beloved Golden Gate Park in California, a young mother and her baby daughter decided to take a stroll and enjoy the scenery. Eventually, the mother would be distracted while speaking to another lady in the park. Due to this distraction, her baby daughter rolled away and ended up in the lake. Like any mother, she started to panic and jumped in the lake attempting to save her daughter. This was the last time the woman was seen. Now, there are reports of women sobbing when there's no one around. And if that wasn't eerie, some have even reported seeing this woman still looking for her baby in the water. And for a bad idea, you can summon her by saying, white lady, I have your baby," 3 times and she will appear. However, this is not recommended. At number 7, we have Charman. In 1948, in Ojai Valley, located in California, there was a large brush fire which destroyed the majority of the valley along with many homes around the area. This fire's devastation made it impossible for those in the affected area to receive any sort of help, which kick-started this urban legend. During the time of the fire, a man and his son who lived in an isolated cabin in the valley found themselves fighting for their own survival. Their house burned down, the father ended up dying from the fire, and the son acquired several deep burns on their skin. This drove the son completely insane, and with his enraged mindset, he hung his father and skinned all of the burned skin from his body. The son eventually disappeared in the darkness of the woods, and it is said that those who wander carelessly in Ojai Valley will encounter the horribly burned Charman, and he will attempt to tear their skin off, just as he did to his father. Coming in at number 6, we have the Dog Boy. Despite the lighthearted name, its story is truly traumatic. In a small Arkansas town was a child named Gerald Bettis, who was supported by 2 loving parents. However, this love would turn to sour. At a young age, Gerald would kidnap and torture dogs, giving him the name, and eventually would thirst for something more sinister. He would move on to humans, specifically his parents. He ended up torturing his parents by imprisoning them in their own home, keeping them there for years. Eventually, the father would pass away in the home, ending his tortured existence, and it's still believed that this house is still haunted from the spirit of Gerald and his father, with consistent light flickers, moving objects, and cold spots. Taking our number 5 spot, we have the Dark Watchers. The Santa Lucia Mountains, or the Santa Lucia Range, is a rugged mountain range located in the coastal area of Central California. For many years, people have looked up at these tall peaks and spotted tall, cloaked figures looking down at them, and in the blink of an eye, they're gone. These 7 to 15 feet tall mystical entities stand motionless, wearing only a black coat and a broad brim hat. Sightings were reported all the way back from the 1700s, when the Spanish had just arrived on the land and noticed these tall, dark watchers on the mountain. Despite these entities not doing any physical harm, they're always watching people in the area, making them feel worried and scared of the feeling of not being alone. Here we have at number 4, the Hugging Molly. In Abbeville, Alabama, there is said to be a phantom-like 7-foot tall woman dressed in all black with a large brim hat. If you ever saw the Woman in Black movie, you could get the idea of what I mean. Legends say she will appear to children, squeeze them tight, and then scream in their ear. Other than this, she is said not to to have harmed them. There are also tales of how she hugged some to death. Their intentions to hug is said to be from losing her only daughter and hugging her while she had already passed. Who knew a hug could be so bad? Stealing the number 3 spot, we have the infamous skinwalker. In Arizona, there is a mythical creature which can shed its own skin, like how a snake sheds. Skinwalkers are humans who possess immense supernatural power, including the power to transform into any animal. According to the legend, these evil beings have the choice to choose any animal they desire, but their most common animal forms are a fox, goat, owl, coyote, cougar, dog, and a wolf. These supernatural beings are said to have started as medicine men who eventually used their powers for evil, turning them to something worse. It is said that powerful skinwalkers have the ability to steal the body of its victims by locking eyes with them. The skinwalker can control that person and become them at will. Once it controls you, it has complete control and has the power to make the victim do things they normally wouldn't do. Skinwalkers are a sign of those who decide to choose evil over good. At our number 2 spot, we have Homie the Clown. In Illinois during the 1990s, there was a clown going by the name of Homie, who would be spotted going through the streets to lure children in his sketchy van. If you ever saw the free candy van meme, this is the unofficial origin story. His name originated from the beloved clown character in the early 90s sketch comedy show named In Living Color, who was an ex-convict who would carry a sock for rebellious children. Except for this clown, children would not get a sock for punishment, but would get something more sinister, more brutal. Eventually, the police would be involved, but would be skeptical about a killer kidnapping clown. Homie the Clown would eventually fizzle out of existence and may still be out there in his van, awaiting unsuspecting children. Finally, at number 1, we have the Riverdale Road. Definitely not the teen drama show Riverdale. There's an 11-mile stretch of road located in Thornton, Colorado, with almost all forms of supernatural reported, from ghostly beings to talking animals to devil worshippers. Just off the road, there's a place called Joggers Hill, where it's said that a car hit a jogger and left him to die, which created a revengeful spirit that is reported to attack any of those who try to enjoy the scenery. On this road, there's also a Camaro that drives around at night with only one headlight on that attempts to race with you. However, this race will be to your death, as this black Camaro is the exact same one in the fatal 1970s car accident that was completely totaled. If this wasn't terrifying enough, the history of this road showed that many slaves were tortured and abused on the farms surrounding the road, and it is said that if you look close enough, you can see the bodies of the hanged slaves in the trees. So next time you take a night ride to relieve your stress, make sure the road you're on is not called Riverdale Road. Starting our list right, we have the ghost of Abraham Lincoln. The ghost of US President Abraham Lincoln, also known as the White House Ghost, is said to have haunted the White House since his assassination in 1865. Staff have heard mysterious footsteps in Lincoln's old room, which was odd since no one was in that room. Presidential pets such as Ronald Reagan's would be caught barking at Lincoln's door. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt also reported feeling Lincoln's presence as she worked in her office in the Lincoln bedroom, as if he were peering over her shoulder. It makes complete sense that they may have seen the ghost of Lincoln, but just in case you forgot, he was brutally assassinated at the conclusion of the Civil War, meaning he had unfinished business, which is a common trend in all ghost stories. Coming in hot at number 9, we have The Thing. In July 1911, Major Archibald Butt, okay, don't laugh, was President Taft's military aide. In a letter to his sister, he stated that the White House is haunted by a ghost of a young boy around the age of 14 to 15 years old. This ghost would be known to all as The Thing. Although very few people saw a glimpse of The Thing, the majority of people in the White House were recalled feeling a slight pressure on their shoulders, as if someone was leaning over them to see what they were doing. Almost all workers at the White House at the time reported the same form of pressure on their shoulders, eventually making it a big issue. The ghostly encounters caused some staff to quit, and others, fully believing in the ghost, questioned the humanity of the ghost. Others had thought it was the spirit of Lincoln's son, Willie Lincoln, who passed away at 11 years old. It's crazy to think that everyone has experienced the same phenomenon. It would be rather hard to think this is faked. The Lincolns are back at it again at number 8, but this time we have Mary Todd Lincoln. Wife of Abraham Lincoln, Mary was said to practice spiritualism in the White House frequently. Influenced by the death of her second son, spiritualism was practiced by Mary to communicate with him and others she held dear in the afterlife. She would report speaking to her late son daily, and would also conduct seances within the walls of the White House. As word broke out, desperate families would come to her seeking the unknown. And in the midst of the Civil War, many widowed wives went to speak to their husbands. Mary would begin to notice strange things in the White House, such as hearing stomping and swearing in the room of former President Andrew Jackson, known as the Rose Room. Could it be her interest in spiritualism that introduced more of the supernatural into the White House? Taking our number 7 spot, we have William Henry Harrison. He was the 9th president of the United States and holds a record for the least amount of time as president, just at 31 days. But his ghost has been there way longer than that. Passing away from pneumonia, William Harrison would also be the first person who died in the White House. Not the greatest achievement, I guess. Now witnesses report unexplained noises from the attic, specifically over the area of the Yellow Oval Room. Now there's a complete 3rd floor that replaced the attic. However, workers still report seeing Harrison roaming the halls and in his room. His apparition appears to take on a blue glow with him, coughing profusely due to his pneumonia. Although no harm has been done by his ghost, the 3rd floor seems to be voided as much as possible to those who work at the White House. Stealing our number 6 spot, we have the British soldier fire starter. It was the War of 1812 and the Great Burning of Washington occurred, a British attack on Washington, D.C. In this attack, many important buildings in the capital were burned down, including the White House, then called the Presidential Mansion. Then things got unexpectedly worse for the British. As the US government fled the White House, the British thought victory was near, but then a grand-scale thunderstorm alongside a tornado swept the area around the White House, killing both British soldiers and American citizens in the process. If you can imagine a Michael Bay movie, that's exactly how I picture this moment going down. Now, it is said that a lonesome British soldier whose garments date back to the 1800s appears on the White House lawn every now and again. It is said that this soldier is still roaming around the lawn of the White House with a rather large torch, almost as if the flame was eternal. Right in the hump of our list, we have Dolly Madison. The ghost of Dolly Madison, who is the wife of 4th President James Madison, was reported countless times visiting the fabled Rose Garden outside the White House. She was originally thought to be the first who cared for and nurtured the garden, but the Rose Garden was actually created by First Lady Edith Wilson. The story goes that President Woodrow Wilson's wife, Edith, asked a few employees to transfer the garden to a different area, but as they were following her orders, they were met with the angry spirit of Dolly. They were chased away from the area, and ever since, the Rose Garden has remained in the exact same spot where Dolly Madison wanted it. At number 4, we have the Demon Cat. Spotted time and time again around the White House, the Demon Cat takes on many different variations to different people, appearing as a normal-sized cat and as large as an elephant to others. The Secret Service has reported seeing paw prints around the White House, which is surprising since no pets are allowed in the White House. The weird thing is that the cat only appears during a presidency switch or a national tragedy. We can call it the bearer of bad news. And potentially this is where we get the idea of an unlucky black cat. High up in our number 3 spot, we have Anna Surratt. Anna Surratt is the daughter of the Lincoln assassination conspirator Mary Surratt. Mary was the first woman who was executed by the federal government due to her intentions to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. Her daughter Anna would travel to the White House to speak with President Johnson, but would be denied any sort of entry. Her daughter Anna desperately did everything in her power to stop the execution, but to no avail. Her mother would pass. So here's where it gets dicey. It was reported that the ghost of her would still visit the White House, with knocking that got louder and louder. Workers could hear her pleading to spare her mother's life, and every July 7th, she would just be sitting on the steps sad, since this is the day her mother's execution occurred. Coming in at number 2, we have Abigail Adams. The wife of President John Adams, Abigail, was known to enjoy her daily laundry, treating it like self-care. However, after her death, she would still be seen doing it. White House workers reported seeing her ghost doing laundry in the exact same pattern that Abigail did it when she was alive. Abigail's pattern consisted of hanging her wet laundry in the East Room, because it had the most sun, meaning it would be the warmest. And in the afterlife, she's still doing it. President Taft even reported seeing her ghost, reaching out to grab the laundry to the East Room for hanging. The White House has then changed the location of the laundry room. However, staff working in that area would report smelling wet laundry and lavender in the room. I don't think anyone can stop her from doing laundry. Taking our number 1 spot, we have the red phone. If there was a presidential symbol to showcase power, secrecy, and responsibility, it would be the most infamous red phone. As seen on many movies and shows, the red phone is a supposed direct communication line between Russia and the US. However, the red phone is more of a metaphor rather than a real object. Did you really think a bright, noticeable red phone carried out the most important and sophisticated conversations between the world's largest superpowers? Instead, secure lines with encrypted messages were used for communication. The red phone instead resembled the security between Russia and the US, and the myth of the red phone rose when nuclear buttons would be painted red, and people would begin associating the two with one another. Makes you think that if this red phone resembled the security of these two nations, all it would take is one bad fall and security be blown and an all-out war starts. Just kidding, let's hope not. At a number 10 spot, we have the Devil's Chair. I mean, just by listening to the name, you already know there is zero goodness in this chair. So numerous physics and clairvoyants meet up year-round in Cassadaga, Florida, which is known as the state's spiritual hub to showcase their talents. Specifically, they meet up in Lake Helen Cemetery. As expected, this spiritual retreat is a hive of spiritual activity, but one place in particular is said to give you the shivers. The Devil's Chair of Cassadaga is a big brick chair, and it's so-called haunted because many locals think that if you sit in it late at night when no one is present, the devil will come and visit you. The chair is said to be the way for the devil to communicate with you, but the odd thing is that the devil actually enjoys a cold one, you know, a beer. It's said that if you leave an open beer on this chair, it will be empty in the morning. So just to be sure, make sure you don't take a little rest in the cemetery, because it could be a terrifying experience.
Now at number 9, the Florida skunk ape, also known as the swamp cabbage man. The stink ape has been said to inhabit Florida, North Carolina, and Arkansas. The stories date back to the 60s and 70s, during the time of the Bigfoot mania, when the ape-like creature running on 2 legs was spotted in South Florida. The creature gets its name from its pungent odor, said to be a byproduct of living alongside alligators and other swamp inhabitants. There's actually an official skunk ape research headquarters in Okeechobee, where a researcher collects and investigates reports of swamp ape sightings.
At a number 8 spot, we have the grave of the Tallahassee Witch. The Old City Cemetery in Tallahassee, Florida is not your regular graveyard. In this cemetery lies a supposed witch. Yes, a real witch. The witch went by the name of Elizabeth Budd Graham, or Bessie, who was only 23 when she passed away in 1889. Her tombstone is the most expensive and the most noticeable. It has this nice stone wall with large granite vases, sculpted feathers, and a cross inside of a crown. The legend goes that Elizabeth bewitched a wealthy man into marrying her, and this is why her tombstone looks like this. The scary thing is that her tomb has a dark witch references chiseled all around the stones. A lot of the writing is written in unique poem-like fashion, but some witch references she made was doubly dead, which means that a witch can only be dead once and killed twice. Others who visit the tombstone report feelings of unease, and they often report strange individuals leaving items at the tomb. To this day, it's said that the fellow witches often visit the grave to leave gifts for Bessie.
Now at number 7, Spook Hill. In Lake Wales, there's a gravity hill that freaks out those traveling through by car. Stop your car in the right place on Spook Hill, put it in neutral, and watch as your vehicle rolls up the hill. On North Wales Drive, a sign says this: many years ago, an Indian village on Lake Wales was plagued by raids of a huge gator. The chief, a great warrior, killed the gator in a battle that created a small lake. The chief was buried on the north side. Pioneer mail riders first discovered their horses laboring downhill, thus naming it Spook Hill. When the road was paved, cars coasted uphill. Is this the gator seeking revenge, or is the chief still trying to protect his land?
At a number 6 spot, we have Robert the Doll. Now, I did a whole top 10 on this haunted doll, so go check it out in the other video if you haven't already. For those staying and don't know him, the story of Robert the Doll dates back to the early 1900s in Key West, Florida. A young boy named Eugene was given this doll and he named him Robert. Everything was good until the doll started to act super strange one night. On this night, Eugene woke up and looked at his bedside, and scary enough, the doll was facing and staring right into his eyes. Eugene's mother heard the boy scream, but as she was running to the room, she heard furniture banging all across the room. When she finally got into the room, it was completely wrangled up with Robert the Doll sitting on the edge of the bed. They then decided to lock Robert into the attic, but at night they would hear Robert's footsteps above them. Then when Eugene passed away, Robert the Doll claimed the life of a 10-year-old girl, and the girl's parents reported that the daughter would complain about hearing the doll at night and seeing it walk.
Halfway at number 5, Death Bridge. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge was a modern beauty when it opened in 1954. The bridge spans the mouth of Tampa Bay, connecting St. Petersburg on the north side with Bradenton on the south. But due to its height, it's also been an infamous spot for jumpers taking their own lives over the years. More than 200 people over the decade according to some reports. Drivers on the bridge have also reported seeing a beautiful blonde hitchhiker on the bridge. When they pick her up, she begins to cry as the car approaches the top of the span. When the driver turns around to ask what's wrong, the woman has vanished. In 1980, the bridge was struck by a cargo ship, collapsing the central span and taking the lives of 36 people.
At our number 4 spot, we have the Pensacola Lighthouse. Legend says that a couple known for having constant fights owned the property. After a decade of living there, the lady randomly decided to take her husband's life, but she wasn't done yet. She proceeded to chop his body up in over 1,000 pieces and bury the pieces all around the lighthouse. The lighthouse's property also served as a place to treat Civil War soldiers, and many have passed away at the property as well. Visitors of the lighthouse claim to hear footsteps when no one else is there, and hearing their names being called throughout the whole building. Now the site is being controlled by the United States Coast Guard, and they even allowed ghost hunters to investigate the area in an episode. Season 5, episode 5, if you guys are wondering.
Now at number 3, Sunland Hospital. Have you ever heard of Sunland Hospital in Orlando? It served as a tuberculosis hospital and later evolved into a training center for children with special needs. The facility closed after allegations of abuse and neglect and health code violations. The main patient building was turned into a park, and reports claim that ghostly patients still hang around. Park visitors reported hearing children's laughter when no children were around, and strange lights. Some also claim swings and other playground equipment moved by themselves. Apparently, after being torn down in 1999, all of that remains of the Sunland facility is the old administration building. There was a Sunland Hospital in Tallahassee too, but the location closed in the 80s after reports of experiments and an apparent lawsuit filed claiming abuse occurred at the hospital. The state of Florida then closed all Sunland facilities in 1983.
2 spot, we have the Bloody Bucket Bridge. Yeah, sounds really nice. During the time of the Civil War, an African American couple moved and settled in Wauchula, Florida. The woman worked as a midwife and she was pretty content with her situation. As time passed by, the wife started to act unstable, and it was all due to the memory of her own child being stripped from her life during the Civil War. Haunted by the event, she took it on her own to suffocate babies as they were being born, and what's worse is that she told the parents it was a stillbirth. Then it said that she would take the remains of the baby to her husband, who would help grind them up and place them in a bucket. Later, she would take these buckets to the bridge and dump them into the water, hence the Bloody Bucket Bridge. People claim that if you visit the bridge on a full moon night, the water will appear red in color, looking like the blood of the baby she took.
Now taking our number 1 spot, Devil's Tree. Inside Port St. Lucy's Oak Hammock Park sits an old oak tree that locals say is evil, or more accurately, that something evil occurred there and it still haunts the land. In 1971, before the park was established, Gerard Schaefer, an ex-deputy for the Broward County Sheriff's Office, assaulted and took the lives of 2 19-year-old girls, Paulette Goodenough and Barbara Ann Wilcox, then buried them beneath an old oak tree. He was then arrested for homicide and stabbed till he passed away in prison in 1995. The girls had been missing since January 8th, 1973, but their bodies weren't discovered until 1977, when 2 fishermen noticed bones protruding from the ground. Local legends and ghost stories about the area include claims of blood-curdling screams erupting from the surrounding woods, ghostly apparitions, and camera malfunctions near the Devil's Tree. Police have responded to numerous calls claiming devil worshippers in hooded robes were performing rituals there. In 1993, the local pastor conducted an exorcism and put up a cross at the site. Numerous efforts to cut the tree down failed when chainsaws malfunctioned or axes broke.
Starting our list right, at number 10 we have Mysterious Origins. I think it's best to introduce this doll by sharing its disturbing origins. According to legend, in the early 1900s, a wealthy American family known as the Ottos committed an unspeakable offense against their young maid from the Bahamas. In an act of retaliation, the maid gifted the young Otto boy Eugene a dog named Robert who had been cursed by a voodoo priestess. In the following years, Eugene would be uncomfortably close to the doll. He would speak to it as if it was a real person and would become violently angry with anyone who just looked at it without his permission. Looking without permission meant that they were being disrespectful to Robert. And on top of that, most of the Otto family friends stopped visiting, claiming to have seen the doll move by itself or having heard it giggle and laugh in the dead of night. The family had enough and decided to send the doll to a museum where many people believe that visiting the doll is a reason for their personal tragedies. And it's to be noted that you should not view it without his permission or take any photos, or else misfortune will find you. At our number 9 spot, we have It's the same company that invented the teddy bear. As mentioned before, he was a handmade doll. but many don't know that Robert was built in the same company that created the first ever teddy bear, showing that evil and good can exist in the same place. But this kind of makes me think of teddy bears differently, especially when the company that made the teddy bear was also one who made one of the most cursed objects in the world. The company's name is Steve Company, which was located in Germany. They created the teddy bear in honor of Theodore Roosevelt, but for Robert, they didn't intend to release him at all, and said he was a part of a window display of clown and gestures. Well, I guess the joke's on us. Stealing our number 8 spot, we have Robert is possessed. So it's widely believed that the doll is in fact possessed. They place the blame on the person who originally gave the doll to Eugene Otto, which was the servant who worked for the family. It's reported that she was abused and mistreated by the family, which led her to cursing the doll using voodoo and black magic. The doll would consume Eugene and would often be caught talking and painting with the doll until his death in 1974. The doll seemed to be possessed before his death, but after, it only got worse. And that's where we'll get on to our next point. On to our next point, at number 7, we have Myrtle Reuter. When Eugene Otto died in 1974, his doll and the house were the only things that he left behind. So eventually the artist's house was purchased by Myrtle Reuter, who was also granted the task to take care of Robert the doll. In addition to sourceless footsteps and giggling, Reuter and her visitors reported seeing Robert's facial expressions change whenever his owner Gene was mentioned. They also swore he had the ability to move between different rooms of the house without any help. And her 10-year-old daughter would find Robert in the attic where she claimed he was alive and trying to hurt her. After 20 years, she had enough and finally decided to donate Robert to the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, where he still resides today. On to our next point, at number 6, we have Fort East Martello Museum. Now the doll haunts a small museum in Key West, Florida. It now haunts the entire building, and it's said that school children walking by outside report seeing Robert move from window to window. Staff at the museum claim that Robert has been found in different positions within his case. That footsteps have been heard around the museum at night with no apparent explanation for the noise, and that Robert's expression has been known to change from neutral to nasty in a blink of an eye. Visitors in the museum take precaution before meeting Robert. It's said that you need to speak to him in a polite way. You need to ask his permission to photograph him and to treat him with the most utmost respect. The walls around him are littered with apologies from guests for their behavior. That's literally how much people fear his ability to curse others. This is because many visitors who don't respect Robert claim they face dreadful misfortune, such as getting into accidents, losing relationship, illnesses and disease. So these apologies are actually for good reason. Right in the hump of our list, we have Don't Get Robert Mad. Now that we mentioned that he's currently in the Fort East Martello Museum, I think it's best to know that his terror didn't stop there. It only continued at a grander scale. One Reddit user named Dun Myth was with his wife and son when they decided to take a trip to Key West. They had heard about Robert in the past, so just because they were passing through, it just made sense to take a visit. The man's wife was superstitious and was very nervous when approaching Robert. On the other hand, the man was not nice about it and decided to tease her about it, which in hindsight, he knew that he pissed Robert off. Once they finished, and as they were leaving, they noticed that their car wouldn't start. It's also good to mention that this car was a luxury car, bought new, and was less than a year old. But when the mechanic came, the battery connectors just crumbled because they were that corroded. The mechanic claimed he had never seen anything that bad. This led the husband to walk back to the museum to apologize to Robert. I know, creepy stuff. All the way at our number 4 spot, we have Robert moving his foot. A lot of people decide to record Robert as they visit the museum. Many don't really record anything supernatural, and besides, they are usually stressed because of the conditions needed to visit Robert. As mentioned already, you need to ask permission to take pictures or videos or even talk to the doll. If not, people claim bad luck and negativity in their lives. So here's a video of someone showing Robert the doll. Although it's unconfirmed if they ask for permission, it's super eerie the way Robert just moves. Right at our number 3 spot, we have Robert inflicts pain. Just one more museum encounter for our list, I promise. Reddit user Taiji Lu talked about his tragic encounter with Robert the doll. He was super excited to see the doll. A kid in the candy shop is how he described it. He reported feeling heavy the moment he was in the same room as Robert, and he even claimed to see apparitions in the corner of his eyes. The user took a photo of Robert, and once he started to tell the story to one of his friends, the atmosphere changed and he felt sick to the stomach. As they rode back home on their bikes, the kid would fall off and dislocate his knee, And to this day, he would still blame it on Robert the doll. We're almost done, and at our number 2 spot, we have Ozzy Osbourne. I know it's a bit random, but I wasn't surprised that Ozzy Osbourne had a connection to this cursed doll. Just in case you've been living under a rock, Ozzy Osbourne took over the 70s with his heavy metal vocals and personality. In this series, Ozzy and Jack's World Detour, they decided to pay a visit to the doll. During the visit, Ozzy and his son did apologize and ask for permission, but the doll just didn't seem fazed.
Do you believe in that voodoo?
I think that's some weird
Superstition.
After this occasion, Ozzy had a terrible 2019. He took many serious falls, causing many major bruises and cuts. He underwent neck surgery, he got an infection in his hand, and was hospitalized for a flu. He blamed all of this on the cursed doll.
Sorry, Robert.
Sorry, pardon.
So if Ozzy Osbourne speaks, we listen. At our number 1 spot of our list, we have an inspiration from Chucky. One of the most influential horror films of all time is 1980's Child's Play. This starred the infamous killer doll Chucky. Even though he isn't a real person, he is based on a real figure. And you guessed it, it's Robert the doll. These stories have very many similarities. Like Robert, Chucky was a gift to a little boy who at first saw Chucky as his best friend and primary companion. Chucky's tale also parallels Robert's because they are both living dolls who cause chaos wherever they go. Both these dolls are just entities of mischievous deeds.
Starting off this countdown at number 10, the Meg. Researchers have pinned the date of the megalodon's extinction to about 2.6 million years ago, roughly when the great white shark was just becoming established. However, a doctor pointed out that the megalodon likely lived in water no more than 200 meters deep, in and around coastal areas. We would, she says, have noticed something of the megalodon's size if it was swimming off our shores, but what if that's not where it's living? Explorers began to probe the Mariana Trench in the late 1800s using rudimentary equipment, but it was impossible to get the full picture of the trench without sending someone down. That's only happened once in history. In 1960, a researcher and US Navy lieutenant took a Navy submarine into the depths. Due to the pressure, they couldn't stay very long, but when they turned on the submarine's floodlights, they were shocked to see fish. Until then, it was thought that no creature could live in such a harsh environment. So who's to say the Meg couldn't live down there?
Over the years, reports of megalodon sightings have emerged all over the internet. A lot of them claim that these giant sharks never went extinct, that they've just been hiding in the deepest part of the ocean, the Mariana Trench.
Now at number 9, new whale. In 2016, marine biologists studying the Mariana Trench heard a strange sound of unknown origin and started recording. Although the recording is only a few seconds long, experts detected a slightly metallic quality to it, and many speculated that the noise was not natural. After months of analysis, however, the scientists believed they found the source of the noise. It's currently theorized that the sound, which marine biologists call a biotwang, is the low-frequency call of a new type of baleen whale. However, that's just one theory. Others say it's still a whale, however it's got shark-like teeth and has mutated into something unimaginable. Here at number 8, sea devil anglerfish. If a fish has the word devil in its name, it's a safe bet that it's going to be freaky, and sea devil anglerfish does not disappoint. It features a whole list of interesting, strange characteristics. As its name strongly hints, this is a fish that would have swum up straight from hell, with its weird body, razor-like teeth, and cold death stare. Although they're bizarre and scary looking, at least they're not huge. Females generally top out at 8 inches long, and the males are much smaller, at maybe an inch long or so. As an anglerfish, the sea devil doesn't dart after its prey. Instead, it has a protrusion from its forehead that dangles a glowing lure to attract unlucky animals. With its huge gaping jaws, the sea devil can actually devour creatures larger than itself.
We believe that this is the first video footage ever made of this species alive and at depth. Eyes of this angler are quite small. In their dark habitat, anglerfish rely more on feeling the movements of other animals in the water around them than on vision. The tiny pale dots you see along the sides of the fish and on its head are organs very sensitive to the slightest movements, and they function very effectively.
Now coming in at number 7, goblin shark. The goblin shark is a rare species of shark. Its unusual and creepy appearance is often described as fossil-like. It has pink-toned skin and a distinctive snout shape. It is elongated and flat, with a protruding jaw and skinny, incredibly sharp teeth. They can grow to be about 10 to 13 feet in length, and they are rarely seen by human beings. It's still unclear what the unusual snout is for, but the older they get, the deeper they dive.
Most goblin sharks are 10 to 12 feet long, but they can grow much bigger.
Here at number 6, telescope octopus. The telescope octopus is a transparent 8-armed octopus that is almost entirely colorless. Their arms are the same size and they are the only octopus to have tubular eyes. It is incredibly unusual to observe and was originally documented by Dr. William Evans in 1885. The octopus is a rare species, meaning there is little that scientists and the general public know about the marine creature, but it's believed to be a close relative of the glass octopus. These eyes provide a wider peripheral vision so that the octopus can see predators and prey alike. Those eyes can also rotate. Talk about scary. Halfway at number 5, fang-toothed fish. These fish could be straight out of a horror movie and are named after their scary teeth that in relation to their body size are the largest in the ocean. Special pouches on the roof of its mouth prevent the teeth from piercing the fish's brain when its mouth is closed. Fang-toothed fish do not have good eyesight and they are believed to hunt by literally bumping into their prey, sensing vibrations and movement in the water. Now at number 4, deep-sea hatchetfish. There are a lot of odd-looking fish in the sea, but not many of them resemble humans' hand tools. The deep-sea hatchetfish resembles a silvery swimming hatchet. There are more than 40 species of hatchetfish. All of them have ridiculously skinny bodies and many of them have shiny scales too, which adds to the metallic hatchet-like appearance. They are small fish and even the biggest types to grow only to about 6 inches long. Their delicate looks contradict their serious ruggedness because these fish are found in depths pushing nearly 5,000 feet. Hatchetfish have bioluminescent bodies and they can alter the brightness of their glow depending on how much light is filtering from above. In doing so, they're counter-illuminating their bodies in a clever camouflage technique. Their dim, self-produced light reduces their silhouettes, making it much more difficult for predators to spot them from below. Now at number 3, comb jellyfish. The comb jelly is a beautiful oval-shaped animal with 8 rows of tiny comb-like plates that it beats to move itself through the water. As it swims, the comb rows break up light to produce a shimmering rainbow effect. Comb jellies are gelatinous creatures with luminous body structures as they diffract any light that falls upon them. They use their comb-like plates to move around in the water. While they please the eyesight, these underwater marvels are vicious predators, even attacking their own kind sometimes. Some may be as tiny as a few millimeters, ranging up to nearly 5 feet long.
Found around 3,000 feet down are the comb jellies. That's light refracting off thousands.
Here at number 2, frilled shark. The frilled shark was discovered in the 19th century by a German who studies fish. It is often referred to as a living fossil due to its eerie appearance and the shape of its mouth. The shark has an eel-like body that's dark brown and gray in color, and the articulation of the jaws to the head. The shark derives its name from 6 rows of frilly gills that grace its body, which grows up to 6 feet long. Just as notably, the shark wields more than 20 rows of wicked, trident-shaped teeth that will tear into any bit of flesh that passes near them. Frilled sharks probably spend most of their lives near the ocean's bottom, and they like waters more than 4,000 feet deep. On the rare occasions that people snag them and bring them up to the surface, the sharks almost always perish immediately, making it very difficult for people to observe their behavior and life cycles. For years, many people assumed that frilled sharks swam and hunted like eels. Now coming in at number 1, zombie worms. Now I know what you're thinking, oh well, how can a worm be scary? Well, let me tell you. Zombie worms are also known as osedox. The word osedox means bone eater in Latin and refers to the worm's ability to dig into and eat bones from whale carcasses. They do so in an attempt to reach lipids enclosed in the bone. They use special root tissues for bone burrowing. So if you ever come near one of these things, I suggest getting as far away as possible.